Did you know you can replicate CTRL F in Excel using only Power Automate actions? No Office scripts is needed. If your Excel file is stored in OneDrive or SharePoint and your data is inside a table, you can absolutely build a search experience in Power Automate. It's not literally CTRL F like how you do in the desktop app or online, but you can imitate that behavior by pulling the rows and filtering the values that you want. So here's a basic idea. First, Power Automate reads the Excel table using the list rows presented in the table action. That will give you all the rows in that table. Then you use the filter to search through those rows that you're looking for. So instead of clicking CTRL F manually, your flow is doing the search for you. Let's say I have an Excel table with entity information, and I want Power Automate to find the rows where the entity name is Sunset Holdings LLC. And as you can see here, it's pulling the value that matches exactly, and also partial match where it says Legacy Sunset Holding LLC. So this Power Automate flow is able to do that as well. So let's get started. Let's start with a new flow. And I would always like to start with the instant flow. We'll create it. And before anything, we want to make sure that this is in a table format. And if you don't know what table it is called, you can just go to the table design, and this is table 1. So just in case you have multiple tabs of data or multiple tables, just make sure you select the correct table. So the first thing we're going to do is look for the Excel Online Business connector. List rows present in a table. If you don't have a connector yet, you might have to sign in and create a new connector. So find your location. This is my SharePoint site. And then that's a SharePoint document library. And then this is my Excel spreadsheet. And then it should automatically show all the tables that's presented, which is only table 1. And then just in case if your data has date and time format, just make sure you pick the ISO 8601 or it will come back some weird string. And then the next thing we're going to do, just trust me on this one, we are going to create a CSV table. It will come from the body value. The next thing we're going to do is using select. And then the from, we are going to create a header. So this is a header, and this is going to be this. So what this means is whatever we got from the CSV table, we are going to split it by the JSON version of next line. So those are the hidden characters, /r//n. So we're going to split it per line. And then we're going to say, use only the first one. So right here. So we split it by each line by the return key, and then only return the first row of data. And then we are going to split each of that into a comma. And then we are going to skip the first 2 items of that. And the mapping, we're going to do something like this. Now at this time, let's just save it and see how it is. Let's test it a little bit. So it has been tested. So this is the metadata that comes back in. And then we are going to put it in a CSV table. So pretty much we're making as commas, right? Each comma as we go, that's how it is. If we take a look at this, this is where, so these are all the headers. So these are all the headers. The last header is Secretary State Entity ID. And then we're going to skip the first 2 items here, the OData, eTag, and item internal ID. So we're going to remove that from a header because those are the out-of-the-box items that we're not really going to concern ourselves with. And these are all the headers that we need to concern ourselves with. If you have gotten this far of the video, please comment a birthday cake down the comments below. Today's actually is my birthday. So the next thing we're going to do is for each of those headers, we are going to filter it out. We're going to click Control, apply to each. And I always like to update the name and then copy it while we're here. So for each header, we're going to select the header. We're going to filter array. We're going to do 2 filter arrays. The first one, we want to get rid of anything that is null. It's just that when they are comparing, it has some errors. So get rid of no, we're gonna say no nulls in this one. And then this is coming from the body value from the Excel. And then what I always like to do to check for nulls is using the empty function. Checking if this is empty, the current item of the header and the name of the header in this Excel is this current header. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's kind of confusing. So let's just put that on there. It's not equals to true. And then for the second one, we're actually going to filter by the search term. So we're going to grab from the previous no nulls. We are going to select the item of this, and then we're going to do a to lower. So whatever item that we're looking at, the column from the Excel, and the value we're looking for is the current header itself here. And then we are not going to use equals to, we're going to use contains whatever the search term is. So if you haven't done so, let's add an input. It's going to be text, and we're going to say search term. And we're also going to say to lower whichever the search term is. So we'll see more, search term. Let's save that for now. And then we'll test it manually. And we're going to test the same ones here. Alrighty, it is successful. So the first header is entity name. So the first loop is entity name. So it will only show the items that entity name equals to Sunset Holding LLC or contains it. So if we were to go next, not really sure. This one doesn't have any. This other one doesn't have any. So it should be the first row and then E here. So E is, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth array. So we're going to go to the fifth array, and this one should have something. So the fifth array of the header is previous entity name. So we have this here, so that is correct. Let's go back to editing. We are going to do something that might be weird. I just created a compose just because I want to look at this output. Let's do another output down here. So there's compose. What I was really looking at, this output outside of the apply to each. So I know it doesn't show up here. That's why I added a compose up there. I am going to find it. Now I am just going to go to code view, and then copy this over and then put it outside the apply to each using that code. We're going to paste it in there, and then now we can delete the compose inside. So we are just going to, I'm just going to show you really quick of what it is. So do you see how it's taking 7 seconds to complete 24 headers? We are going to come back to that and change the concurrency for that heading. So now let's just take a look at what it looks like. Do you see how it's an array of an array? So this compose is all of the items of this output. So just to have us see it better, we're to go to JSON editor. I always like to view it in a tree view, but there, so here it is. We got 24 arrays, right? And then within there, whatever items that comes back, so you'll see those are 0. It's empty array. So you'll come back and see how some of them, if they don't have a match, it would just be empty array, empty array, empty array. So you'll see from that here, 0, 0, and there's a 2. All these are zeros. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna flatten the nested arrays into one array. So right now we have one array and then multiple arrays, right? So I already have a video to something like this. If you want more in depth of a detail, go ahead and just hop onto that video. But this time I'm just gonna explain it quickly. Going back to editing mode, we are going to filter out all of the empty arrays, and the output is going to be this. Because we can't select it from here, we're just going to enter the code. And we're going to do the same thing. Like an empty JSON array, we are just going to get rid of it. So if it's not empty, no empty array. First, that we're going to get rid of it. So output would be only those arrays that has value. So that is what our output is. And then now we're going to flatten it. So this is the code that we're going to put in. So we are going to convert it into a string. And then anything that starts with a square bracket and curly brackets, we are going to get rid of. So anything that has a square bracket, curly bracket, and a quote, it is going to get replaced with just a squiggly bracket and a ending quote. Same thing at the end. So we're getting rid of the square bracket and curly brackets, but in the ending portion. And then just replace it with a quote and a ending curly bracket. And then this is going to be the flattened. The last thing that we're going to do is get rid of duplicates. And we're going to say union. I just love using union to get rid of duplicates. I know there is another function, but this is my best way to do it. Join it together by itself. So unique items. And then actually we can also delete the compose one because we don't need it. That was just for demonstration purposes. So we're going to click OK, delete it. To ensure that this has concurrency control, go ahead and click on your loop and then turn on concurrency control. Automatically it does 20 items at once. I think that's good enough. So we're just going to save it. On this tab here, it takes 8 seconds to go through the whole loop. And now this is with the concurrency control. It's only taking us 1.2 seconds. So that's really great improvement. Let's take a look here. So we came from a nested arrays, right? And what we did was get rid of these empty arrays. So that's the input. Now the output is going to be all of the empty arrays are gone. This is it. And then we have got rid of the nested array issue here. We had the flattened arrays. So here we go. Instead of 2 square brackets, it became 1 giant array together. So if we were to copy this over into a JSON formatter again, so there's 6 items coming back. And then over here, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But as you can see, these items are the same row of data. Before the union is returning similar to how it is in Excel, right? It's seeing this in that cell and that cell, that cell. But then in Power Automate, I wanted to return 1 row at a time. So that is what the union really comes in to help us. The union is going from 6 items, we're going to condense it into 4 items. So we were to copy it and then put it here. Now it has condensed to 4 unique items. This is really useful when you want to check whether a record already exists, finding a matching row or locating anything in the Excel spreadsheet, or validation data before creating a new row, or returning matching rows and back to somewhere else, such as Power Apps or Copilot Studio or other connecting pieces.